Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at Zacks Premium. This is a stock research service that offers a bunch of information about stocks, as well as a list of stocks that you should consider buying now. It's backed by real human analysts and offers a ton of information to help you make decisions. I'll explain whether I like Zacks or not, whether I think it's right for you, and we'll take a whole look at this service and see what it offers. So we'll dive in right with the Zacks homepage. So this actually looks about the same whether or not you have a premium subscription. One thing that I like here is that you can see a quick overview of the top movers in the Zacks number one rank list. So that number one rank list is a list of basically stocks that Zacks thinks are worth buying now. Number one rank in Zacks means strong buy. So even if you don't have a premium subscription, you can take a look at this list every day and get information about a few of the best number one ranked stocks to buy right now. So really helpful even if you don't want to pay for a premium service. As you scroll down, you'll see there are investment ideas for stocks, ETF, mutual funds, and options. Zacks is primarily stock focused, but it does have a few ETF and mutual fund tools that I'll point out. That's not the main thrust of this platform. If you're interested in ETF and mutual fund investing, highly recommend an alternative service like Morningstar. So let's dive into stock research in Zacks. I'm going to take a look at Block because I know that there's a recent research report for this company. So here we're seeing the overview page, and right away, the most important information is at the top. So this Zacks rank, again, number one is strong buy. Goes all the way to number 5 is a strong sell. Block here is rated at 3, so that's a hold or a neutral score. There's also Zacks style scores, value, growth, momentum, and a combined VGM score. These are rated on an A to F scale, and they give you information about what type of investing strategy or trading strategy a certain stock is best for. And then finally, Zacks ranks every stock against competitors in its industry. So here we can see Block is in the top 22% of tech companies. Not amazing, but not terrible either. So as we scroll down the quote page, we can see there's a bunch of information about the stock pricing, its dividend yield, earnings per share, and more. What I want to point out before we dive into anything else are these analyst reports and snapshot reports. So the analyst report is super helpful. This is a stock research report written by human analysts. So it starts out with a summary of the company and then dives into earnings per share and sales growth over the years. What I really like is this overview. So it gives you a basic overview of the company, including information about sales, revenue growth, earnings per share growth, and just generally the outlook for a company into the future. That's followed up by these reasons to buy and reasons to sell. So just basically digestible bullet points that tell you whether or not a stock is worth buying or whether you should stay away from it. And then finally, the analysts take a look at the last earnings report from a company and dive into what the earnings reported was, whether that differed from Wall Street consensus, and why. A lot of this information is repeated in this snapshot. So here we're looking at this chart. It shows the price over time, as well as earnings reports and whether earnings were above or below the Wall Street consensus. So this EPS surprise is pointing to, if the up arrow, it shows that earnings reported by Block were higher than the Wall Street consensus. If the arrow is pointing down and red, showing that earnings were lower than the Wall Street consensus. One thing to note is that this does not always track with changes in price. You can see that there was a strong negative earnings surprise here, but the price shot up afterwards. That could be because the guidance was good even though reported earnings were low. You can see over time the earnings per share consensus relative to the stock price, as well as predictions into the future. Zacks is really big on earnings estimate revisions, what it calls earnings expected surprise predictions. And so you can see here for the various quarters coming up, the number of analysts on Wall Street making predictions for Block earnings, as well as those revisions and whether revisions were up or down. So this can be a good indication of whether a stock is likely to report higher or lower earnings than expected, and you can make predictions about what the price will be based on those surprises. So this can be really useful for swing trading around earnings. So if we go back to the Zacks overview page here, we can access all of this, the snapshot, the analyst reports, more details about the style scores in this sidebar. Notably, the style scorecard does a nice job of comparing Block's value, growth, momentum metrics against competitors in the same industry. So it can be really helpful if you're trying to evaluate different companies in the same industry and want to decide which one to buy. One other thing I want to point out here are these fundamental charts. These are helpful but not amazing. So we can compare two metrics on the same chart here. So we can look at, for example, quarterly EPS compared to price to earnings ratio. The limitation here is that you can only add two metrics at a time. So if we want to add price, we can only look at price against one other metric. Looking at EPS and PE ratio together is nice, but I would also really like to know what the stock price is over this time period. If you're interested in these types of comparative fundamental charts, highly recommend a service called YCharts. They do a much better job with this. You can really customize these charts and add as many metrics as you want. So this is a nice added bonus if you're a Zacks Premium subscriber, but it's definitely not a feature worth buying the platform for. So next I want to take a look at the Zacks #1 rank list. This is a list of strong buy stocks that are worth considering for your portfolio right now. What's great about this list is it's basically ideas that you can look into for stocks that are well vetted and recommended by Zacks analysts. So for each of the stocks in the list, we can look at value, growth, momentum, and combined VGM scores, as well as quickly access analyst reports, snapshots, price charts, and those quote pages. Additionally, if you scroll over any of these, you can actually see a bunch of information about those scores, the market cap, price to earnings ratio, as well as a price chart. So really helpful here. One thing to note though is that there are over 230 stocks right now in this #1 rank list. So that's a lot of stocks to go through. You can start to pare down the list by looking at different market sectors, as well as prioritizing stocks with A-rated value, growth, momentum, or VGM factors. You can also look at income. This is primarily based on dividend yield. Zacks is mostly not focused on income investors, but this can be a good way to filter stocks in this #1 rank list if you're interested in dividend yield. Another way to sort this #1 rank stock list is to use the stock screener that Zacks offers. This is a pretty great stock screener because it offers a ton of metrics. So of course you can filter by Zacks rank within an industry, and those value, growth, momentum scores. You can also look at earnings surprise, the PE ratio. You can look at the number of Wall Street analysts making predictions for a stock and more. You can look at price changes over time. You can filter by EPS estimate revisions, EPS growth, sales growth, valuation, and more. So there's a ton of fundamental metrics included in this screener that really lets you hone in on stocks that fit your strategy. The important thing to note is if you want to use this screener to its full effect, you will need a really well-defined strategy that aligns with the metrics that Zacks focuses on, which are mainly around earnings per share and earnings per share revisions. Zacks Premium subscribers also get access to a number of premium screens. These can be helpful. I really like this undervalued Zacks #1 rank stocks. It takes out stocks that have a #1 strong buy rating and relatively low price to earnings ratios. There's also pre-made screens based on growth, momentum, and combined VGM scores, as well as income, market cap, as well as bearish screens. So I like this overvalued and ready to fall screen. It looks mainly at 3, 4, and 5 rated stocks, so 5 being a strong sell, typically with overly high price to earnings ratios. It's also worth noting that Zacks has ETF and mutual fund screeners. These can be useful, but again, ETFs and mutual funds are not the main focus of Zacks Premium. If you're interested in fund screening and fund investing, highly recommend a service like Morningstar Premium. It costs about the same amount as Zacks and gives you more tools to dive into what's inside funds and look at funds in the context of your portfolio. Finally, one other filter I want to look at in Zacks is this expected earnings surprise filter. So here you can look at stocks that Zacks analysts think will either beat or underperform Wall Street estimates for their earnings reports. So if we're looking at ESP buys, these are primarily Zacks 1, 2, and 3 rated stocks, and you can filter according to how much you want to see the stock beat the Wall Street consensus buy. You can also look at the earnings price in the last quarter. So this gives you an indication of how likely it is that a stock will beat or underperform Wall Street estimates again. You can also filter by the number of days in advance that these earnings reports are coming, up to a week out in advance. So this filter can be really helpful for particularly swing trading around earnings reports. Earnings surprises can be really useful if you think that a higher earnings surprise will lead to a jump in the price. Often it does. That's not a guarantee, but can be a really useful way to swing trade using Zacks. These type of earnings surprise predictions is something I haven't seen from most other stock analyst software. Okay, so finally let's talk about how much Zacks Premium costs. Zacks Premium is $249 per year, and there's a 30-day free trial that I highly recommend you take advantage of. So it's not overly expensive. It's in line with the cost of things like Seeking Alpha, Morningstar Premium, and just slightly more expensive than a stock picking service like the Motley Fool Stock Advisor. So overall, there's a lot to like about Zacks, but this is not my favorite stock research service. As you can see, I did a lot of clicking around to show you different features of the platform. The layout of it makes it a little bit confusing, and it's kind of hard to find what you need if you don't know where it is. You can get used to it, but there's still a lot of clicking around in this platform, and the layout just makes it harder to find the information that you need. The other thing that I don't love about Zacks is, while the number one rank list is great, there are more than 230 stocks in that list right now. So if I'm looking for stocks in a specific industry, I can narrow it down that way, or I have to have a very specific strategy to narrow down that number one rank list. If I'm presented with 230 stocks, that's too many. It's not actionable for me to go on that list and just start reading through reports to find stocks I want to buy. A much more curated list would be helpful for investors who are just starting out and just need a little bit more guidance in terms of what to buy. So alternatives to Zacks that I would recommend, definitely take a look at Seeking Alpha Premium. It costs about the same, and you get a little bit more information about stocks. It has a similar top stocks list with around 60 to 100 stocks on it at any given time. So still a lot, but it narrows that list down quite a bit and gives you screening tools to help you find stocks that fit your strategy. Another thing I really like about Seeking Alpha is you get, instead of analyst reports, you get op-eds written by contributors, and these are both bullish and bearish cases for stocks. So you get two sides of a stock to decide some of the risk factors, some of the potential gains, and think about whether it makes sense for your portfolio. If you're interested in fund investing, again, Zacks has some tools, but definitely recommend Morningstar Premium if you're interested primarily in ETF or mutual fund investing alongside stock investing. So that said, all of these platforms do have free trials. I definitely recommend taking advantage of the 30-day free trial on Zacks. Give it a shot. You might like it. If you don't, try out Seeking Alpha or Morningstar and see if those platforms are a better value for you.